Live every day as if it were the last, because before you know it, time goes past and life's just not that long. Tell all you love that you love them so, because even if you do, they might not know, and one day we'll all be gone. Taste the wind.
We all make many mistakes. Doctors make many mistakes. My longtime friend Judy had a doctor who thought one of her kidneys had cancer. So the doctor operated and removed that kidney, but after surgery, no cancer found in that kidney. So Judy has lived for years with one kidney. My longtime friend Dan in Colorado had a doctor who put Dan on the statin drug for many years until Dan found out the neuropathy in his feet, a feeling like pins and needles and numbness, was caused by that statin drug. Dan stopped the statin drug years ago, but still has suffered from statin. My cousin Zelima's husband was allergic to penicillin. When he went to the hospital, Zelima or her husband told the doctor or the nurses that he was allergic to penicillin. But in spite of being told, the doctor gave Zelima's husband penicillin, and he died. My longtime friend Chester in Colorado, his doctor gave Chester a very strong antibiotic drug that destroyed much of Chester's intestinal flora, the many good germs necessary for health in Chester's intestine. And for months afterward, Chester suffered low energy and fatigue. We all make many mistakes. Doctors make many mistakes. In 1975, my mother's doctor in Illinois wanted to do surgery on her to see if she had cancer, but we refused. We took my mother to the world-famous Mayo Clinic in Rochester, Minnesota. They did many tests. They found no sign of cancer, even though she had many other serious problems. They did not do surgery. The team of doctors there at world-famous Mayo Clinic came into her room. They were honest and humble enough to admit they did not know what was wrong with my mother. They sent her home with the vitamin folic acid. Now, that's a great vitamin, a very important vitamin. But it's like building a house out of one wall. It's not enough by itself. Later, I wrote to the Illinois doctor who had wanted to do surgery on my very sick mother. Now, where did I drop my paper? I guess I didn't. Well, there we go. I told this doctor in Illinois about my mother in Mayo Clinic. I told him my very sick mother could have died on his operating table for what? But sadly, that doctor mailed back my letter, had scribbled on it that he was right in recommending surgery on my mother. Maybe the doctor feared we would sue him or tell other people about his dangerous advice that could have killed my mother. A woman friend suffered several cancers for years. Her cancer doctor here in Albuquerque told her not to eat nutritious food when she was taking chemotherapy for her cancer. But the truth is, cancer patients, especially on chemotherapy, need to eat the most nutritious food possible in order to live. Sadly, my friend followed the cancer doctor's wrong advice not to eat nutritious food. She died. We all make many mistakes. Doctors make many mistakes. When I was 28, I had surgery on the retinas of both my eyes. 10 weak spots and or holes on the one, 13 on the other. I was terrified, absolutely terrified, of going blind. My mother had surgery twice for retina detachment at the University Hospital in Madison, Wisconsin. My mother and I both had diabetic retinopathy. Neither one of us were officially diagnosed with diabetes, but we were very close. I was severely addicted to sugar shit, ice cream, cookies, pie, cake, candy as a kid and in my 20s. And my mother was also severely addicted to sugar shit for many years. But as far as I remember, no doctor here in Albuquerque for me and no doctor at the University Hospital in Madison, Wisconsin for my mother asked her or me, "What are you eating?" Crazy. Our serious eye disease was caused largely by our severe addiction to sugar shit, ice cream, cake, cookies, candy, pie. We all make many mistakes. Doctors make many mistakes. The first time I had sex with any male was in 1976 when I was 31. He sucked me off, or I sucked him off. It's kind of a hazy memory. And not long after that, I had the wonderful pleasure of being fucked by another young man. And he was a master fucker. He took his time. He was gentle. I forget if I had told him it was my first time being fucked by a man. And I wish every man fucking a man would be like him. So very different from being fucked by a man who does not give a damn about how the man he is fucking feels, whether he is enjoying it or suffering. And many years later, I greatly enjoyed fucking dear Jose many times. Jose was bisexual from Mexico. He never fucked me. He never asked to. I wish he had fucked me. He did his fucking with women and younger men. I was in love with Jose. I licked Jose's asshole before fucking him. My friend Steve here in Albuquerque had taught me the pleasure of having my asshole licked. I loved Jose deeply. I was in love with him. Jose will always, always have a special place in my heart. A worldwide study in 195 nations found there is no safe level of drinking booze. Zero, nada, nothing. Booze has messed up, cut short the lives of many dear friends of mine. I drink no booze, not one damn drop of that slow poison. Booze is slow poison to every cell of our body. Booze can cause heart disease, cancer, car crashes, drowning, stabbings, shootings, beatings. Booze can cause suicide, house fires, freezing to death, brain damage, depression. Booze can cause high blood pressure, liver damage, stroke. Booze can cause stomach ulcers, blood vessel disorders, addiction, and men not being able to get good hard-ons. Booze can cause early aging, early death. And many people begin as social drinkers and eventually become lonely, sick alcoholics. Millions on booze say and do things including sexual assault and murder they later terribly regret. I would infinitely rather have dear friends of mine who are addicted to booze switch completely to organic, New Mexico grown marijuana if they're going to use something. Marijuana is far better, but never, never buy it from the cartels from Mexico, because the cartels have killed thousands of people in Mexico. My dear friend Johnny has been in the medical marijuana program for years, and he grows some in his own backyard. Marijuana can help over 40 serious health problems. I strongly recommend the book in our city library, Firewater, How Alcohol is Killing My People and Yours. The title again in our city library, Firewater, How Alcohol is Killing My People and Yours, by Cree Indian, Cree, C-R-E-E, Indian, Harold Johnson, about the awful curse of booze, especially among his people in Canada. I know of no other book where a Native American speaks so frankly about the evil of booze and the massive suffering it causes, and what to do about it if we give a damn. In 1850, the world population was about 1 billion. 1930, 2 billion. 1960, 3 billion people on Earth, approximately. 1974, 4 billion. 1986, 5 billion. 1999, 6 billion. Now, about 8 billion people. More of us are alive today, 8 times as many people now as were living less than 200 years ago. Twice as many are alive now as were alive 50 years ago. So why make more babies? Now, if you already have children, birth children, adopted children, love them, treasure them, care for them, and teach them by your own life, your own example, to enjoy living simply, consuming no more than their fair share in our world family of 8 billion sisters and brothers, plus the many billions to follow us if human beings survive the climate crisis and the very real danger of nuclear war. Billions more people consuming more resources, billions more people poisoning the earth with more waste and pollution. Where does it end? In massive disasters, suffering, wars, famine, starvation. The worst population problem on earth is not in Africa, not in China, not in India. The worst population problem on earth is in the United States. Why? Because most people here consume and pollute many times more per person than most people in India, Africa, or China. No child here has the right to live in luxury with a room full of toys and electronic gadgets and a closet packed with clothes, while a child in Africa or India or China or many other nations dies of hunger. We have no right to spoil our children rotten, while many children in other places suffer. No home, no adequate education, no healthy food. I have no right to much more than I need, while many millions worldwide suffer on far less than they need. If you have no biological children, and if you want fairness for all our family, our human family on earth, 8 billion, now and in the future, possibly billions more, why have more than one biological child? And better yet, have none. If you love children and you want to help them, help the millions of children worldwide who desperately need love, care, food, shelter. Adopt a child or become foster parents. Give money to those children's organizations that stretch every dollar to do the most good, with no fancy offices, no highly paid staff. For many reasons, I am glad I have no biological children. Why? Why make more babies? If 6 people are allergic to a certain food, they all may have different symptoms of the allergy. Try cutting out certain foods for a month, not just a day or a week, but for a month, and see if you feel better or worse. And some of the foods most likely to cause allergies are cheese, milk, chocolate, cola, peanuts, citrus, nuts, wheat, corn, eggs, shellfish, strawberries, pork, beef. Those are some of the foods most likely to cause allergies. Corn or wheat in some form are in almost all processed foods in cans or boxes or packages. And some people suffer for years not knowing they are allergic to one of the foods they love and eat most. Food allergies can cause breathing problems. Food allergies can cause dizziness. Food allergies can cause painful joints, hyperactivity in kids. Food allergies can cause severe stress, headaches, stomach cramps. Food allergies can cause diarrhea, brain fog, memory problems. Food allergies can cause trouble sleeping. For most of us, nuts are excellent food if they're raw, not roasted, not salted. Shell nuts just before eating. Raw nuts. Shell them just before eating. The fats in nuts can go bad if they sit around after being shelled, and if they are not eaten soon after being shelled. I would not watch most movies, even if I were paid big money, because most movies are a stupid waste of time and talent and money. Most movies are saturated with glamorized murder, money addiction, robbery, rape, booze, revenge, or war. Most movies are crap. Most movies are like serving rotten garbage on gold platters. Gold platters, I'm speaking of the superb acting, the well-designed sets, the beautiful scenery, but the rotten garbage on those gold platters is an evil message or shallow message. Nothing to inspire us to live better lives. Nothing to celebrate, nothing to move us to tears of compassion and empathy. And regardless of how many jobs and dollars most movies made in New Mexico and Hollywood and across this country are nothing to celebrate. Why would adults who damn violence on our streets enjoy watching movie violence for entertainment? And sadly, most actors, not all, but most, sell their talent with little or no conscience about how violent or how shallow the movie is. If the pay is high enough, most actors will take the role regardless of the movie's poison message. And why? Why should actors make more money than farm workers in the hot sun harvesting the fruit and vegetables to feed us? I compliment movies about forgiveness, about enemies becoming friends. I compliment movies about working for justice and peace. I compliment movies about honoring nature, growing food, changing how we live to slow the climate crisis. I compliment movies about enjoying living simply. I compliment movies about natural healing, naked body freedom, passionate sex and romance between Maria and Pedro, or Maria and Juanita, or Pedro and Felipe. I treasure certain movies that move me deeply to tears and to good action. And a movie that's now playing in several theaters here that I haven't yet seen, but I want to see with a close friend of mine, is Till, T-I-L-L. The true story of a 14-year-old black kid from Chicago who went to visit relatives in the Deep South and was accused of whistling at or showing some interest in a white woman. Whether it was true or not, who knows? And besides, if it was true, what he suffered afterward was absolutely hellish evil. Some white people, white supremacists, took him, lynched him, mutilated his body, and his mother in Chicago insisted that the world see her son's mutilated, dead body. If you ever have any question about the horror of white supremacy in this country, be sure to see the movie Till, T-I-L-L. The U.S. spends far more for war than any other nation on earth. The U.S. spends more for war as the next 9 nations combined. This nation is addicted to war. Do I believe white supremacists can change? Do I want them to change? What can I say or do to help them wake up and change? And apart from the love, the wisdom, the inspiration that I've received from many people in my almost 77 years, I am no better than white supremacists or anyone on earth. Taking antibiotic drugs can kill not just the bad germs, but also the good germs that we need to digest nutrients and fiber in our intestines. And many animals are fed lots of antibiotics to fatten them up faster, so the farmers make more money. The antibiotics in those animals' meat and milk, and the antibiotic drugs people take directly can cause fat bodies. Have you ever heard that on TV or radio? Has your doctor ever told you that? And those antibiotics in meat and milk or taken directly can also cause allergies, asthma, diseases of the intestines. I eat no meat, no dairy. Sadly, the main way young men can get cheers publicly for touching each other is by bruising, bloodying, injuring each other in football or boxing or mixed martial arts. Sadly, the main way young men can get cheers publicly is not by strong hugs of deep affection, not just having made a touchdown or a basket, but deep affection for each other. and not by giving and receiving sexual pleasure with each other. To be a good, honest, fair cop ain't easy. And some reasons I would not want to be a cop. I refuse to carry a gun. I hate guns. I hate wearing uniforms, especially in hot weather. I refuse to enforce laws that I oppose. I refuse to shut up about police beatings and killings. And how can anyone be a good cop if he or she does not have the conscience and the courage to condemn publicly the violence he or she sees other cops commit? I reject much of the police, the court, and the prison system. It emphasizes fear and punishment instead of helping people change their lives for the better. The first Thanksgiving Day in this country was proclaimed in 1637 by the governor of Massachusetts to commemorate the wiping out, the mass murder of the native Pequot people, the white massacre of over 700 men, women, and kids. That was the first Thanksgiving. Did we learn that in school? I surely didn't. The truth is bloody and hellish. Not enough sleep causes us to crave junk food. Not enough sleep can cause fat bodies. Not enough sleep can cause diabetes, dementia, cancer, emotional problems, colds, flu. Not enough sleep can cause heart attacks, depression, strokes. Not enough sleep can cause memory loss, lower immunity, high blood pressure. So never consider yourself lazy for getting as much sleep as you need to be healthy. Men, if you enjoy having a woman or a man suck your cock and swallow your cum, taste your cum when you're pleasuring yourself alone. Now, if we're healthy, and if we eat only healthy food, and if we do not drink booze, and if we do not smoke cigarettes, if we do not take prescription drugs or street drugs, if we do not work around dangerous chemicals, our cum should taste good. Our cum is nutritious. But many years ago, I had sex with a college student in Virginia. His cum tasted awful. Maybe he never knew it. If he never tasted his own cum, and if no one he had sex with told him, I did not tell him. Maybe I should have. Women and men swallow the cum only of men who live healthy. Poisons from a smoker's cigarettes are in his cum. No matter how good looking the man is, no matter how kind, how dependable, how much you care for him, if he's a smoker of cigarettes, many of those poisons are in his cum. And of course, the same goes for the vaginal fluid of a woman smoker. I remember my bisexual friend Herman here in Albuquerque, who died years ago in his 90s. Herman greatly enjoyed sucking men off. He said their cum was like a milkshake. Now, I do not drink milkshakes anymore. I mean, I haven't for many, many years. I was addicted to them. And I do not eat sugar or milk, but I understand well what Herman meant. More than 200,000 Guatemalans were murdered during the 1970s and 80s in the war there. The United States furnished weapons, officer training, CIA involvement. 662 villages were destroyed in Guatemala. The U.S. CIA overthrew the Guatemalan government in 1954 because the democratically elected Guatemalan president opposed U.S. corporations stealing his people's labor, his nation's resources. The U.S. backed the brutal dictator Somoza in Nicaragua. U.S. President Franklin Delano Roosevelt said about Somoza, the dictator, he's a son of a bitch, but he is our son of a bitch. More than 50,000 Nicaraguan people were killed in the war to remove the dictator Somoza. And many years later, 30,000 Nicaraguans were killed in a war between the Sandinistas and the U.S.-backed Contras. In El Salvador, 75,000 people were killed in the civil war there. U.S. leaders and taxpayers are responsible for this river of blood in Central America. U.S. leaders and taxpayers supported the murder of most of the more than 355,000 people killed in those three nations in Central America: Nicaragua, Guatemala, El Salvador. I damn the atrocities of Osama bin Laden and Saddam Hussein, but the U.S. has murdered far more people, many millions of people, in Central America, Iraq, Chile, Vietnam, Yugoslavia, Cambodia, and dozens of nations. And tragically, most people in this country do not know the facts of U.S. bloody massacres. Many people here do not give a damn. And then they wonder why millions of people all over the world hate and fear the U.S. government. Millions of people here have never once called or written Congress or the President to oppose U.S. mass murder of our sisters and brothers in other countries. In the 1970s, U.S. Secretary of State Henry Kissinger assured the dictator Pinochet in Chile that the U.S. would not demand that Pinochet respect human rights in Chile. So the blood of many Chileans who were tortured and killed by the dictator Pinochet is also on the hands of U.S. leaders and taxpayers. Imagine you went to a town where everybody always wore cloth covering their ears, even in hot weather. You never saw anyone with bare ears in public. Why, it was forbidden by law. You could get fired, you could get thrown in jail, laughed at, cursed, beaten up, and branded as a dangerous pervert if you showed your naked ears in public. Insane. Why are these people ashamed and afraid of seeing bare ears in public? Why are they so hung up about that part of the body? Why this weird taboo? But in this society, the same is true of naked cocks, balls, vaginas, asses, female breasts. Why the crazy, sick hang-ups about these precious, pleasurable parts of our bodies? Why is it legal to show rifles and shotguns, revolvers, nuclear missiles in public, but not naked penises, testicles, vaginas, asses, and female breasts? Our genitals are not obscene. Naked bodies making love are not obscene. War, racism, taxes for war, rape, revenge, greed, boxing, grudges, nuclear bombs, all of those are obscene. But because of the sexually uptight society we live in, I aim to be wise, to be naked, and to make love where I do not risk getting arrested or freaking people out. I love living naked at home, mostly naked elsewhere when I'm warm enough. I enjoy living as naked as the weather and the law allow. And one of my favorite, simple, free, natural pleasures is sunbathing naked in small private spots in our backyard, especially in cool weather like now and for the next several months. If there are no clouds and no wind, it's beautiful for a couple hours in the middle of many winter days. I read, I think, I write letters, I eat, I rest, I converse with friends as I soak up the marvelous, healing sunshine naked. My granny was my mother's mother. My mother, dad, brother, and I lived with Granny in the Illinois farm home where my mother was born in 1907. Granny and I slept in the same bed from when I was 5 until 12. Granny read many books to me. Granny pronounced hundreds of spelling words to me, and I won the county spelling contest when I was in 5th grade. Granny had memorized poems. She spoke those poems with deep feeling. One poem was about an older couple, a husband and wife, back east, as they look forward to their move out west. And from that poem, the words, "Here comes the stage to take us to the train. and our children's children way out west will make us young again. When I was a boy, my mother, dad, granny, and I had never visited New Mexico. And we had no idea that many years later, New Mexico out west would be my main home. When I was 12, Granny went to the hospital. She was diagnosed with cancer of the liver and the bowel. She suffered a colostomy, a hole made in her side for her shit because of the cancer in her bowel. Granny lived for another year and a half in hospital and nursing home. She never saw her farm home again. And when I was 13, on October 26, 1959, I stood beside her in the hospital as she died at 89. She was the first person I ever saw die. I'm deeply indebted to Granny. I dedicate this program, today's program, to Granny. Churches say God is a spirit, but what is a spirit? If God is a spirit with no cock, no balls, why do most Christians refer to God as male? He, him, his. If God is good and cares for all people, how can God watch millions of people for thousands of years suffer cancer, war, starvation, hurricanes, earthquakes, and much more? How can God watch such misery and not help, especially when millions beg God for help? Why does God want people to worship and praise God often and fervently? Is God insecure? Does God get mad and raise hell on earth? Most churches say we human beings are evil sinners deserving punishment, even hell, forever, with no pardon, no parole. Many sermons and books try to explain why an all-powerful, fair, loving God refuses to help millions of suffering people. And no one on earth can explain that. And instead of just asking if God can forgive us for our evil actions, the bigger question, can we forgive God for not helping suffering millions who beg for God's help? And how would we ever know for sure if God answered our prayers or if something we prayed for would have happened anyway? And why do most people in the United States believe in heaven after death when there is no proof heaven exists? And why does God want us to treat each other better than God treats millions of people in natural disasters, earthquakes, floods, tornadoes, birth defects? And some churches teach if a child dies before the age of accountability, maybe 7 years old enough to choose right from wrong, that child will not go to hell. So, if God is fair and if God loves all people equally, if God knows which people will decide for or against God as adults, and who will go to heaven or hell? Why does God not kill as children all people God knows will decide against God later in life and go to hell? It all makes no sense. Crazy. I no longer believe in God. And I definitely do not believe in eternal hell with no pardon, no parole. A child taught by parents to believe in God often feels that he or she must believe this crap or risk losing the parents' love and favor and care. And it took me years, many years, with much help from many people, to realize no one is up there. No all-knowing, no all-loving, no all-powerful God to believe in, to pray to. And that was a huge shock for me. Lonely and terrifying in this massive universe. I was sincerely a believer, a preacher. I had swallowed and spread false advertising for God for many years. And if I had not been taught this as a kid, would I, as an adult, have fallen for this make-believe bullshit? I don't know. I wasted thousands of hours in church services, majoring in Bible in college, reading religious books, thousands of hours thinking about the Bible. Hitler said, "What good fortune for those in power that most people do not think." Hitler knew most Germans were religious and used to swallowing crazy crap. Hitler saw they could fall for his evil lies also. And sadly, most churches, most Sunday school classes do not welcome deep questions. Most churches do not say that a person can be honest and caring and responsible, even if one does not believe in God. Sadly, in most Sunday school classes, most church services, certain things are never questioned, never said. Many people, pressured as children to believe in God, stay caged, stay trapped in religion until death. Not just in Christianity, but in any other religion, the same caging and trapping can happen to a person until death. They never feel free to question deeply their faith or their Bible or the religious books or what their parents and grandparents said was truth. Doug, a U.S. Vietnam veteran, said, "I hope you can see the hell I live through every day. My experience has left me a very lonely person." Doug, the U.S. Vietnam veteran, said, "I have no real friends, and I don't think I ever will. until I find peace within myself. I hope that someday I will be able to forgive myself. And far worse than COVID is war fever. A father has war fever when he believes the U.S. military will make his son a better person by enslaving him in this nation's most violent gang. A fan in the sports stadium has war fever when he or she gets excited and feels patriotic pride when a U.S. jet bomber flies over the stadium to open the football season. Millions of men and women have war fever when they enjoy watching war movies, when they own and love guns, when they play violent video games. Millions of men and women have war fever when they choose to be ignorant and silent about actual U.S. wars worldwide. I condemn kids shooting kids or adults, but adults are largely the cause. Kids do not own the gun factories, the gun stores. Kids do not write, produce, and act in the evil U.S. movies that glamorize guns, that glamorize violence. Kids are not the mayors, the business owners, the city and state officials who say nothing publicly against the evil movies made in New Mexico or anywhere in this country. Movies glamorizing guns and murder. Kids are not the adult actors of all colors who get filthy rich, poisoning kids' minds with violence. Kids are not the parents who own guns, who love guns. Yes, kids who shoot and kill need to change, no question. But even more so, the adults who are even more responsible for kids' gun violence. Thank you very much for listening and watching. I welcome you to stop me on the street and talk if you see me and want to talk. And I especially thank Mark and Eddie, who week after week run the controls and do an excellent job. And many thanks to my friend Seth Hoffman for that great song that he composed and sings at the beginning and the end of this program. My fresh piss to your health.
Tell all you love that you love them so, because even if you do, they might not know it.